from NBC Sports Boston, Tom Curran, back here on the program. Tom, I saw this press release, and I texted you immediately. I saw that comment in the sky. I'm like, let's see if Tom saw it in New England himself on the East Coast, because I saw it on the West Coast. You see it?
I was still processing myself, and, it is interesting. There's a lot of different reasons for it. Just to cut to the chase, on Monday I reported that Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft on Tuesday, reported that they had their season-ending conversation, and that during the course of that conversation, Belichick charted a course for 2023 that was more encouraging, including offensive changes that were going to take place. Didn't want to get into firings or reassignments or anything like that, and he never really does. But I think what Robert Kraft and the Patriots did last night was, to borrow Belichick's phrase, they did what was best for the football team. Explain that we're not going to go titleless. Explain that we're going to gain some traction on offense with an experienced guy. We're not going to have a shell game with who's calling the plays and who's the offensive coordinator and what are you guys talking about? I don't know what you're asking. Just cut to the chase, Bill. So I found that fascinating, in that Robert said, "Can we get this done? And make it look a little more organized and less cryptic."
And you, what is your reporting on how collaborative that conversation was, Tom?
They were both in line. I think that there comes a point where Bill does fully comprehend, and I don't want to speak out of turn as he says, speak for yourself, but I think that he understands the pecking order. As much latitude as he's been given over the course of time, as much money as he makes, which is more than any professional sports coach in America, perhaps the planet, I think he gets the idea that, okay, in the end, it's his $6 billion team. And if he says, I want my season ticket holders and the rest of the NFL to understand that we're going to have a more cogent plan and a conventional plan in place, c'est la vie. I'm with that. If we have to send a release out to do that, well, I don't love sending releases, but especially when it's an admission of, we're doing it different this year because last year it didn't work. I'm sure he didn't love it, but there was no, I'm not over my dead body type of comment.
What is the Jerod Mayo portion of the sentence of the press release? You could break it down by sentences since there's just two of them. So, what do you think? Do you think the draft was more than two sentences, Tom? Do you think the draft was a little bit more verbose? What do you think?
They just don't want to. The draft was more verbose. It was. I do have that on high authority. Okay. The draft was far more verbose, and it lost a little weight on the way to the final copy.
So what does the Mayo portion mean? What do you got for me on that?
Especially when you're detailing that there's not even a contract, but you're moving forward with negotiations. Now, I reported a little while ago, as did Phil Perry, my coworker, that Jerod will not be taking the interview for the Cleveland Browns defensive coordinator job. He still is in line to perhaps take a visit with the Carolina Panthers to discuss either their head coach or defensive coordinator job. I don't know if that's going to happen, but really, in 2017 into 2018, when Josh McDaniels was interviewed by the Indianapolis Colts, he had never heard word one from Bill Belichick about what he wanted Josh to do in the organization going forward. And so when he went and took his interview, and the Patriots hadn't lifted a finger to make him feel as if they wanted him still around, he took the job. And then they said, well, we actually would like you to stick around. And he's like, well, why didn't you tell me that 2 months ago? Say something to make me feel as if you want me to stick around. So they don't want to make that mistake again, especially with a guy like Mayo, who is as charismatic, persuasive, intelligent, and all the things you really want, I think, in a head coach.
So is that what they're also envisioning for him in his future?
I would be out of line if I commented that is something I'm certain of. Mm-hmm. I think that they'd love to maintain right of first refusal on him. You know what I mean? So that if in 2026 Bill Belichick has broken Shula's record and he's stepping aside, the Patriots still have him under their auspices. And he's not got a wandering eye to going someplace else. With Josh, it was different because it was 2017 going into 18, and Bill was 66. now Bill's 71, the team's in a reboot, Tom Brady's gone. You can certainly see the end of the road a lot more clearly than you could have in 2017, 18.
So then let's take the last portion of our conversation, Tom Curran.
I will not preempt Brian Cranston.
No, I know. A couple at a time here. So who's the offensive coordinator? What do you got for me? You know, there's
I'm going to go.
There's a bunch of names we've heard. What do you got?
Put your chips on Bill O'Brien.
Okay.
He wants to come back to the NFL. I believe ownership is fond of him. I believe that Bill Belichick values him. He's worked with Mac Jones in the past. And Bill has New England roots. I think that is the hands-on 2-1 favorite.
Well, then you just led me to my second question, because Scott Zolak, locally there, mentioned how he wouldn't be surprised if Mac Jones got traded. Certainly with Derek Carr seemingly available as a free agent, when that cut comes, there's no question the cut's coming. You got Jimmy G potentially. We all know that was the guy who he envisioned succeeding Brady way back in the day anyway. So is it possible that whatever Mac was doing behind the scenes, or occasionally bristling about the quick game with very easy to read lips, rankled Bill in a way that he's ready to move on potentially after just 2 years? What do you think?
That would be a cutting off your nose to spite your face move, even if that did exist. I think there's a little bit of Mac stabbing going on out here.
Mac stabbing. I like it. What a name. What a phrase. I love it.
Thanks, babe.
I love it.
Just in terms of, look, he did a good job all year long sucking it up with guys who don't coach offense and not getting pissed. And eventually he did get pissed. And now that those guys are being scurried out of their jobs, there's legitimate replacements being brought in. I think there might be a little bit of behind-the-scenes airing of grievances going on. If you're Bill Belichick and you walk up to Robert Kraft and say, let's trade Mac Jones, I'm Robert Kraft and saying, but didn't you in July at the beginning of training camp say that he was a very good player and then he made a dramatic improvement in the offseason? So, Bill, you're saying that not only did we cost ourselves a season with the offensive coordinator setup, but we ruined Mac so bad, we have to trade him now. I don't think Bill is walking down that road and making that knock on the door and saying that to Robert Kraft. It's idle time filling space, if you ask me. Now,
so then,
happened.
So then, before we button this up, then Tom Curran, then to what do we owe the whole play calling 2022? What's the word for it? You could call it debacle. I mean, you could absolutely do that.
Debacle, disaster.
Or decision from Belichick, because the subtext of it is that Bill's lost his touch. Like that is the subtext of it, fair or not. And the unfair portion of that could be proven in the fact that they had a win and in scenario in Week 18, a very tough spot. Buffalo, regardless of the year, it's a tough spot to win. And then this year in particular, with everything that was happening with Damar Hamlin and the team, and wanting to win for Damar, and they take the ultimate first punch with giving up that touchdown on the opening kickoff, and took the lead in that game, only to give up another kick return that lost the lead for good. But, I mean, this team on the defensive side of the ball balled out and damn near still made the playoffs anyway. So Bill is still great. The question is what the hell happened? What is the ultimate explanation for it?
He overestimated himself. He overestimated Matt. He overestimated perhaps Mac Jones. He underestimated how difficult it would be to not only put Matt Patricia in that position, but also to change the offense. They changed the offense. And then they had to go back to what they were doing because it didn't work. They scored 28 touchdowns through 16 games. They hadn't been that bad since 2000. Bill underestimated the teams that he was competing against, overestimated his own acumen and the acumen of Matt Patricia, and probably overestimated how satisfied his players would be with a "don't worry, I got it" attitude. They do want answers. They deserve the answers. Mac Jones had 14 touchdowns and 11 picks and was the butt of many jokes in 2022. And that's not what you're looking for in your second year in the league. And it's not what you're looking for with a guy on a rookie contract. So I think it was, people like to bandy about the word arrogance with Belichick. I don't love that, but I think he did overestimate himself and underestimated the curve that they were trying to conquer.
And then the last crystal ball question for you, Tom, is when the offensive coordinator is in fact named, and Belichick then appears for the next time at immediate availability, will he flat out own that the coordinator, that the person hired is in fact the offensive coordinator, or will that question have to come from you or anybody else, and it's a coin flip as to whether he actually acknowledges the title of the person hired? Tom, what do you got for me?
Reading the tea leaves, in my experience, they're going to put out a release when Bill O'Brien or whoever is hired, and it'll say it's the offensive coordinator. And when we ask Bill if there's an offensive coordinator, we just released a statement on it. I mean, what are you talking about? Of course. I mean, what are you talking about? Are you happy with Bill? Yeah, I mean, I know Bill for a long time. You know, it's just moving forward. We'll see how it works out.
I'm just glad Robert Kraft has heard my pleas all season. Tom.
There you go. He heard the fans. This is definitely a message to the fans, right, Tom? I mean, that's basically what it is.
I think, yeah,
right.
Definitely.
Tom Curran,
this
thanks.
Nice. You going to be at the Super Bowl?
Oh, we'll see you. You'll be there?
Yeah, I'll scurry out there.
Okay. We'll stop by. We'll see you. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, brother. You're the best.
They had a Bryan Cranston. That's exciting. And Mike Evans and Tyler Lockett, who I thought the Patriots should have drafted in the second round in 2015, and they didn't. And they never got a replacement for Edelman. And that's another reason the offense wasn't that good this year.
And you. Don't forget you. You're the star of the guest list, too, Tom Curran. Thank you. Take care of yourself.
See you guys.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.